My name is Toke. When this story began, I was only 22 years old. I had dark curly hair, a head full of dreams, and a heart that desperately wanted to be loved. Growing up wasn't easy for me. I came from a broken home, and the truth is, I never really knew what a healthy family looked like. I wanted to become a writer. I wanted to attend university bigger than the one I was born into. But dreams don't always survive poverty. And because I had no one to support me, I slowly convinced myself that maybe my dreams weren't meant to happen. When I met Akin Tomiwa, Akin was 27. Looking back now, I realized that what I thought was love was actually manipulation. Akin drank a lot. He had a terrible temper. But when someone spends their whole life feeling unwanted, even unhealthy love can feel like a blessing. And before I knew it, I had given him my heart. 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. Akin and I moved in together. We weren't married, but we were building a family. Then my daughter arrived. The most beautiful little girl I had ever seen. I named her Faith. The moment I held her in my arms, I made a promise. I whispered it inside my heart. Faith, I will protect you. Childhood never really left me. For years I had the same nightmare. I would see myself as a little girl running through the house.
You can't hide!
No, please! No!
Don't you ever dictate to me my own house! Without me, you are nothing! You have nobody!
Never again. The cycle ends here. Never again.
Sleeping peacefully. Then I remembered the promise I made the day she was born. Few clothes, gathered our belongings, picked Faith up in my arms, and walked away. No dramatic speech, no goodbye. The frightened mother choosing her child. That night, I didn't know where we would go. I only knew where we could no longer stay.
Life after leaving Fred was harder than I imagined. I had no savings, no family support, no safety, only faith. And my determination to protect her while Akin searched for us, I searched for work. Any work. I cleaned houses, I scrubbed floors, I washed bathrooms. I worked until my hands hurt and my body ached. Every day I dropped Faith off at daycare. Every day I prayed I could earn enough money to pay rent. Failure was not an option. Because I wasn't fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for my daughter. I worked hard. Harder than anyone expected. Maybe because I knew what it felt like to have nothing. People began noticing. Clients started recommending me. One house led to another, and another. Until one day, a friend recommended me for a cleaning job at a mansion. The moment I stepped into that mansion, I froze. It was breathtaking. Everything about it felt familiar. The marble floors, the grand staircase, the luxurious furniture. Then it hit me. This wasn't just a beautiful house. It was the exact house I used to imagine when I dreamed about a better life. The owner was a successful lawyer. Before leaving for a business trip, she explained that the cleaning would take several days. Then she handed me the keys and left. Suddenly, I was alone. Inside the life I had always wanted. As I cleaned, I found myself wandering through the rooms. Then I entered her closet. I don't know how to explain what happened next. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was overwhelmed. Maybe I simply wanted to know what it felt like. For just one moment, I took a warm shower. I wore one of her beautiful outfits. I poured a glass of expensive wine. I listened to music. And when I looked in the mirror, I saw a different version of myself. Not the cleaner, not the frightened girl, not the struggling single mother. I saw the woman I dreamed of becoming. Standing there, I made myself another promise. One day this will be my reality. When I woke up, I heard a car outside. My heart nearly exploded. The lawyer had returned. I rushed around trying to put everything back. The clothes. In my panic, I forgot 2 things. The wine glass and the diamond earrings still hanging from my ears. The moment she walked in, I knew she noticed. But instead of getting angry, she smiled.
She invited me to sit down and have a glass of wine with her. I was embarrassed, ashamed, terrified.
Then she said something I will never forget. Wouldn't it be better to learn than to sneak? In that moment, I knew she had seen everything. But instead of humiliating me, she wanted to understand me. Then she asked a question nobody had ever asked me before. What do you want to do with your life? And for the first time, somebody actually listened. I told her everything. My dream becoming a writer.
To study literature abroad, my hopes for faith, my determination to create a better life. When I finished speaking, she looked at me and smiled. Then she offered to help me, to support my dreams. Thanked her, but I politely declined. Not because I didn't appreciate it, but because I didn't tell her my story to gain sympathy. I told her because for once I finally had someone willing to listen. Sometimes, being heard can change your life just as much as being helped. I walked into that mansion believing I was just a cleaner, but I walked out with something much more valuable: hope. For the first time in a very long time, I believed my dreams might actually come true. And little did I know, the biggest test of my life was still waiting for me. Life was finally moving in the right direction. Another storm arrived. I had recently received the news I had prayed for. I had been accepted into a university abroad to study literature. Dream was no longer a dream. It was becoming reality. I was excited, terrified, hopeful. And because Faith was still her father's daughter, I informed Akin about my plans. It was my mistake. A few days later, a letter arrived. The moment I saw his name, my stomach twisted. My hands trembled as I opened it. Akin was seeking custody of Faith's daughter, my world, my reason for surviving. I sat on the floor and cried, not because I thought he loved her more than I did, but because I knew why he was doing it. This wasn't about being a father, it was about punishment. If he couldn't control me, he wanted to control my future. And he knew exactly where to hurt me. The next morning, I ran straight to my lawyer boss. The same woman who had listened to my dreams. The same woman who saw potential in me when I couldn't see it myself. By the time I finished explaining everything, tears were running down my face. She listened quietly. Then she reached across her desk and held my hand, and she said something I will never forget. "You won't fight this battle alone." She promised to represent me, free of charge, no conditions, no hidden expectations, just kindness. The kind of kindness that changes lives. For the first time since receiving that letter, I felt hope. Before the custody case could begin, Akin requested a visitation day with Faith. I was nervous, but I agreed. That Faith deserved the chance to know her father. That morning, I watched her leave with him. And when I opened the door, Akin was standing there. Faith was beside him, safe, happy, smiling. I immediately pulled her into my arms. Then, I looked at him. Something was different. For the first time in years, I saw honesty in his eyes. Akin looked at me and sighed.
And that's not this anymore.
After everything we had been through, hearing him admit the truth felt unreal. Then he said words I never expected to hear.
I can't do this anymore.
I can't take care of her the way you can. Akin told me he was tired. Tired of drinking, tired of being angry. Tired of destroying everyone around him. He said he had decided to check himself into rehabilitation, to finally get help. Not for me, not to win me back, but for himself. If life ever brings us back together, for the first time since I met him, he wasn't trying to control me. He was letting me go. And somehow, that was the keen's selfless act of letting her go, was his greatest act of love, shown he had ever shown me. A few weeks later, I stood inside a crowded airport. My passport was in one hand. Faith's tiny hand was in the other. I looked around and smiled. Years earlier, I had walked away from an abusive home carrying a frightened little girl and a bag full of uncertainty. Now I was walking toward a future I once thought was impossible. A future filled with education, opportunity, and hope.
Mommy, are we going on an adventure?
Yes, baby. The biggest adventure of our lives. People often ask me what gave me the strength to keep going. The truth is, it wasn't strength, it was a promise. A promise I made the day my daughter was born. A promise that she would never grow up believing fear was normal. A promise that she would see her mother fight for a better future. As our plane lifted into the sky, I looked out the window and smiled. Because for the first time in my life, I was finally running toward my dreams.